welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show that's part of the family of podcasts on the network itsneworleans.com.
We've got a great show lined up for you tonight, and if you're hungry for more Midnight Menu Plus One than we can dish up over the next 45 minutes, we have all kinds of extra stuff like recipes, guest gossip, sneak peeks into who's coming up next week, and much more on our website, itsneworleans.com, or on our brand new Facebook page, Midnight Menu Plus One. While you're there, you can check out our blog, or you can sign up for our newsletter. You can follow us on all kinds of social media. You can get all that info on itsneworleans.com, or just Google Midnight Menu Plus One, or go to the Facebook page, Midnight Menu Plus One.
Tonight's show is brought to us by our friends at Petite Pet Care, dog walking and pet sitting. Loving care when you're not there. You can find out all about Petite Pet Care at their website, petitepetcare.com, or call them up at 504-300-9PET. Thanks also to Monkey Hill Bar on Magazine Street. Check out their happy hour weekdays from 3 to 8 p.m., $3.50 well drinks, and $1 off beer, wine, and signature cocktails. Tell them Ray and Margot sent you.
Each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margot and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant community to join us, and we invite them to bring along their own mystery guest. A plus one. We never know who their plus one's going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, a family member, or a fellow restaurant colleague. But tonight, our special guest on Midnight Menu Plus One is the one and only Molly Kimball of Eat Fit NOLA. Very excited. But before she arrives, let's find out. I heard that you went to it's the same one I went to. I see it in your hand. That's so funny. Did you like it?
Yes. Well, tell everyone where you went to eat so that they...
Well, you're going to say it better than me. Is it Fa Camely? It's like family?
Fa Camely.
Camely, okay.
It's on Magazine Street.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Well, I was hoping to have an argument with you about it, so I'm just going to say the opposite of whatever you say. If you liked it, I hate it. No, actually, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I went there today and had the shrimp vermicelli bowl, and I thought it was delicious, and it was tons of shrimp. They weren't skimpy, and I thought the prices were really fair, and it wasn't like overpriced.
I don't know what it is.
Vietnamese
It seems like people complain about things sometimes around here, and one of the things people complain about is too much pho, and I don't understand that mentality. If it's good, more the merrier. I don't care. If they
Absolutely.
if they want to put 3 pho places on every block and it's good, I don't care as long as it doesn't squeeze out other things, right?
Yes.
I'm so glad because this is just like a mile and a half from my house, and I love it.
And I think it's a family business, and they are part of I think the mother and sister-in-law, or they worked at Pho Bang.
Oh, love that place. Yeah, that's great.
So
that was
they're
my favorite
experienced.
place. There's one in New Orleans East and there's one in Gretna, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Well, I don't know if those are the same owners.
Oh, they have the same name, I think, but that doesn't mean anything, maybe. Yeah, I that was like the first pho place I ever went to that I really just absolutely loved. I wasn't really familiar with it till 6 or 8 years ago, and I absolutely went crazy there. All right, Margot. Well, it looks like our special guest is here. I cannot wait to meet Molly. Most chefs, it seems like, that we have on the show live off of a diet, it seems like, of bacon grease and shellfish mixed with Gulf oil, BP spill. And it's a rare occasion that we have somebody coming here who's a health advocate. And I think she's going to show us and talk to us about how we can eat great and have wonderful New Orleans flavor without maybe the physical toll that it takes on most of us from eating year in and year out of that. So it's very exciting, somebody who's working to promote the health of our city at the same time as the flavor. So welcome.
Yeah, I'm so
Nice to
excited
have
to be
you here,
here.
Molly Kimball.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Dietitian and writer and a lot of other things, huh?
Yeah, lots of different ways that we try to, kind of get the education out there.
Yes. Will you tell us a little bit about Eat Fit NOLA and what your mission is?
We're so excited about this. So really, Eat Fit NOLA, it's been around for just over a year that we kind of have been doing our full press with this. And we have about almost 40 restaurants locally on board. So we're really excited about this. And our emphasis is local restaurants. So we work with our local chefs, our restaurant owners. We look at their menu and we see like what's pretty nutritious to begin with, what might need a little bit of modifying, or what's already going to kind of fit our criteria as it is, or kind of giving them some recommendations of how can we, maybe drop the sodium, because even though maybe some people need extra if they're athletes and all that, but if we're going to put our stamp of approval, kind of have to have these upper limits. And the chefs have been really receptive to this. So we work back and forth with them. It's a little bit of a process, but it's been fun. It's been a challenge on both sides. And how can we be creative of keeping the flavor? Because these chefs, these restaurant owners are not going to make these changes if it compromises the integrity of the dish. And we know that. So we're realistic with them. So once we find what works on both sides, then they just basically put the little Eat Fit NOLA seal by it. And so when you're going into these restaurants, it takes the guesswork out of it for you. So basically what we would recommend to our clients is what is going to be on these menus when you walk in, and it's identified right there for you.
Okay, wonderful. Now, how did Eat Fit NOLA come about?
It was actually my husband's idea. So it was probably, 5 years or more ago. He said, you know what, we go to all these different restaurants here. We don't cook a lot. We both work a lot. So you get home late. You're not going to prepare a meal from scratch. So a lot of it is going to the little neighborhood places around us, ordering in, going to just our favorite local spots. And inevitably, somebody comes up to us and they say, what are you doing here? How can you find something to eat here? All these hole-in-the-wall places that you would think you can't find anything nutritious. Meanwhile, they don't want to hear how we place that order so that it would be like how we would want it to be as nutritious as it is. But they would say, how do you even find something here? So my husband says, we need to do something where we're actually kind of putting a little seal by those things that are nutritious. And I was like, oh my gosh, do you know how much of a undertaking this would be? That's like really a full-time job. And so my full-time job is actually with Ochsner and with Elmwood Fitness Center. And about 2 years ago, they said, how can we get a broader community impact? What can we do to have a bigger splash than one-on-one, you meeting with your clients in your office? And that was actually the perfect answer. Let's work with our restaurants.
So you are a dietitian?
Yes, so I'm a registered dietitian. So I've been practicing almost about 15 years now, and mostly one-on-one with clients, a lot of community talks, corporate outreach, that type of a thing, and also writing for the Times-Picayune. We do a weekly segment for WGNO, Get the Skinny. So we've got TV, we've got the print, and so these different ways in addition to one-on-one that we're given this education. But once you're identifying something right there on the menu, it's really, we're trying to give this education, but if you have any question marks about it, here you go, we're really holding your hand at that decision making.
And aren't you offering this to restaurateurs and businesses? Is it a free endeavor?
100% free.
Now, wow, who's
amazing.
sponsoring that then?
So again, my full-time job is with Ochsner and with Elmwood Fitness Center, and so when they said, hey, we want to do this and have this broader community impact, we really took it on as a community initiative. And it's pretty funny because people go, yeah, you say it's free, but like where's the catch? Like it's surely like nothing's free. Like there's going to be something else to it, but it really
so
legitimately.
So is Ochsner paying you to do this? Is that how it works? Or?
I'm a full-time employee by them, and so
Right.
again, since 1999, I've been full-time dietitian, employed by them, and so my role has kind of evolved. And so instead of that full-time status being mostly one-on-one consults in my office, they've said, okay, what can we do to kind of broaden this? And my role has kind of shifted to having this community impact and working with our restaurants. And so to me, it's been incredibly rewarding. We've seen, chefs as they've made these changes in their rrestaurants, have taken it, on in their own lives and seen their own health benefits. We've seen their cholesterol and their blood pressure and their weight drop, and they've become believers, So it's just been, it's way rewarding.
So now you have to go out on site and sample all this food, right? So this is like way better than hospital food, working with hospital food, right? It's a little better than the cafeteria at
Right.
Ochsner,
So
I bet, right?
It's right. And my office is actually at Elmwood Fitness Center.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're already taking a really laid back office environment. I mean, when you work in a gym, you're already a laid back environment. Then when you start working with restaurants, it's probably even more laid back, So it's very non-traditional kind of in that way. But a lot of it is sampling, but really a lot of it more is looking at the recipes, working with the chefs, talking through what's in here. And then we have, our computer software, our database, all the stuff that we do the analysis of it, and then see what might be too high or what's, those things. And the chefs have been really responsive to it. They haven't been, defensive or what a lot of people have asked, like, is that really hard working with the chefs? But they've been really receptive.
Okay. Is this sort of like the heart healthy thing where you have a symbol next to the item on the menu, or is it just a section on the menu they'll put? Or
all of them are different, and I'll say, I would say it falls under that criteria of heart healthy. We use the American Heart Association's limits for sodium and saturated fat. But we also take it even further than that. So we say no white carbs and less than a teaspoon of added sugar in a serving. So if someone has inflammatory diseases, if someone has blood sugar issues, blood pressure issues, it kind of falls into all of those. Or someone's just watching their weight, it meets the criteria for all of those. And we put the symbol. Every restaurant has been different. So some of them, like on their normal menu, they're going to incorporate it. Others kind of section off a particular area of that menu that's Eat Fit NOLA. And we try to be as flexible as possible so the restaurant can kind of make it work within the fabric of their menu without us forcing it into something that might not fit.
So who was the first client of yours in New Orleans?
So
a restaurant.
It was either 2003 or 2004, we started a partnership with Commander's Palace. It was Ochsner, Good and Hearty. And that was through our cardiovascular side of Ochsner had Good and Hearty, where the limits were sodium and saturated fat. So not as tight as we are with Eat Fit NOLA, but definitely got something going with them. And so now Commanders has totally embraced it, and they've totally embraced the Eat Fit NOLA with Commander's Palace as well as Cafe Adelaide and Sobu. And about the same time that we were launching Eat Fit NOLA, Muriel's came to us and said, hey, we want to do this. We want to identify some healthy items on the menu. What do you know about anything that's in the city that we could do like this? And I was like, hey, we're actually about to launch this program. This is perfect timing. So as far as the first official branded Eat Fit NOLA, Muriel's just really came on board full force with that. And like I said, the Commander's Palace family has just been incredibly supportive. So we had just such an amazing amount of support, and the chefs and the restaurants, it's more than I ever would have imagined for them being right behind us.
Well, that's a wonderful anchor for your...
Yeah.
And you have, how many restaurants are on the...
We have just under 40 locally, and then Copeland's and Cheesecake Bistro are doing Eat Fit NOLA nationally at all 25 of their locations, from Texas to Maryland to Florida. So you go in there and it doesn't say, Eat Fit Jacksonville. It says Eat Fit NOLA, which is really cool, that they're embracing that.
And
so what are some of the other restaurants besides the ones you've named?
Gosh, we've got, I feel like I'm glad that we have kind of a full spectrum of price points and
Did you grow up cooking in the kitchen too, or was it just
well, you don't cook, right?
I wouldn't say I don't cook. There's a few things that I'm like crafty at. Lately, the slow cooker I've been good at. I know, I see the peanut gallery over here laughing at me, and that's actually been happening. But yeah, so there are certain things that but if I'm looking at what do I enjoy, actually, no, cooking isn't it. There's other things that I like, if I was going to do something, it would be working in the yard, like gardening, it would be other things. But from a food perspective, my other degree is actually in food science. So from working with the chefs, I know a lot about how these different things might work, even if I'm not the one actually, it's not what I enjoy to do, but I love working with the chefs, have an idea of how something's going to, I think I might know, and as they're explaining it to me, how it might turn out. And then when you actually see it, and especially when I'm doing the cooking demos with the chefs and you actually see it all come together, it's amazing. So I love the process of it. It's I think that maybe if I had more time, but it's not something that I do as a hobby. Yeah.
So you're collaborating with chefs and business owners, and that is creative. Cooking is a part of the creativity, but they're chefs and they know what they're doing. So you don't really need to go in there
smart.
And cook.
They know so much, and that's the coolest thing, because we'll say well, how could we do this, or how could we make this maybe a little bit, whatever it is, whatever the thing is that we're trying to tweak, and the ideas that they'll have, and just they're so brilliant as far as either preparation or even the appearance of how they're going to plate it up, and even that might change the amount of certain ingredients they're going to have to use. And so it's really fun to work with them and kind of get their ideas on that.
So is there any food item that you have worked with a restaurant and been asked to help with that there's no way around it, like you couldn't see any healthy alternative?
There's
Or
very, very, very few things. I mean, there's almost nothing that we can't work with.
Almost nothing. So there's something. What's the something?
You know, I would say it only comes when there's
crackling. You can't make healthy crackling, maybe, no?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You
That
can
would
make it
probably
out of
be hard.
kale or something, but then it would suck.
But
Yeah.
it's hard if a restaurant, say, might be part of a larger franchise and they don't have a lot of flexibility. Like there's one in particular that I'm thinking of that's a sandwich shop that would love to be part of Eat Fit NOLA, but the meats that they're required to use are really high in sodium, and so that's not something that they have the flexibility for. So there's a few things that's like, you know, like, but it's only when there's very strict limitations and they don't have a lot of flexibility. For the most part, we can work with a lot of that. I mean, even like Ruby Slipper, they've got a smoked salmon that they use on one of their breakfast items, and they actually just simply changed part of the seasoning of what they use on their smoked salmon to drop the sodium content. But they had the flexibility to do that, you know.
Oh, you wouldn't even think of that. That's amazing.
is there, what is your guiltiest NOLA pleasure food item? And is there an item you would never eat?
So I kind of always say there's nothing that I feel guilty about, because if you're going to have it, you just have it.
Right.
You know, if you're going to have it, do it, and just,
Amen,
you
yeah.
know, right. Like if you're going to feel guilty about it, it's not even really fun to dive into
Ruins
that,
the fun.
you know.
Yeah, right.
I would say that what I wouldn't have, it's not even because I wouldn't have it from a nutritional standpoint. I simply don't even like it. Stuff like daiquiris, they're just so frozen daiquiris. You know, if it's a good homemade daiquiri, that might when it's over the rocks and all that. But if it's just a frozen daiquiri, knowing how much sugar is in there, and I don't even really like it, I would say that would probably be my. It's just not even worth it.
All right. Well, it looks like your plus one has arrived. Can you introduce her to us and tell us why you brought her?
Yes, so this is Jocelyn Lockwood. She is one of my closest friends. She is one of our anchors that we did our Get the Skinny segment with on WGNO for about 3.5, maybe almost 4 years. So
almost.
She is not
beautiful voice. All she said was almost. And she has a beautiful voice.
Well, thank you. She's not the healthy eating advocate personally, but she at least learned a lot of what we try to promote over the years of us working together.
I truly think the reason Molly decided to bring me here today was because I'm the exact opposite of Molly Kimball. I eat what I eat and I enjoy it. But she has had a great influence in my life, personally, professionally.
So all of this is going to hate you then, because you for your living you're on TV still? Like you're in front of a camera?
Not currently right now. No, not right now.
Okay. Well, you look like you could be.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay. And you
She's
probably
only not on TV because she just traveled the world for the past year.
Okay. So you've been doing that,
Neat.
and you eat whatever you want. Those two usually don't go together, right?
No, they usually don't.
There's a lot of anchors that are probably starving themselves to death, or yeah.
Probably, but you can't do that in NOLA as an anchor. I can tell you that for sure. I packed on a few pounds when I first came to New Orleans. I think every transplant does when they come to the city and they discover just how fabulous the food is here. But luckily, I had Molly as a safety net, and she'd give me the evil eye every once in a while when we were out to dinner, but not too often. She's a pretty great nutritionist, and that, as you heard her say, if you're going to dive in, but have a little bit of restriction in your life.
She doesn't seem real preachy. Is she real preachy? Is she judge you a lot when you're eating?
No, like I said, I get the stink eye when I'm eating French fries like we did at Tableau today, which are not on the Eat Fit NOLA menu, may I add.
But they're good for the soul.
Good for the soul. And I think Jocelyn thinks she's getting the stink eye, but it's her own internal clock giving her moral compass is giving herself the stink eye. She's like, Kimball, I feel it.
That is true. Yeah, that is
and
very
you're just enjoying your food, not even paying attention to her.
Very true. Very true.
So, Jocelyn, where did you travel?
Oh, goodness. Well, I left New Orleans just about a year ago, sold our house. We lived uptown. It was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. Why? Because New Orleans, as I've discovered, is really one of the greatest cities in the world. And my husband and I packed up, sold our house, and we traveled to 25 countries in 9 months. Yeah.
3 per month. Okay, it's about 1 a week almost.
Yeah,
huh?
we were on the move very quick, which didn't allow for much downtime, but we saw a lot and we had great experiences across the world. And so this is actually my first time back in New Orleans since traveling. So it's really good to be back.
You're a good friend to come on and be
Came
interrogated and not even knowing what you're getting yourself into.
I did keep asking her what I was getting myself into, but she just wouldn't tell me.
You're the +1.
Yeah.
So wait, where do you live now?
I'm a free roamer right now. I'm looking for a place to live. So
there's
I'm
still
in
a chance
transit.
we could entice you to come back here.
Maybe. You never know. I love New Orleans, but, you know, I have another half, so he has a say in the decision of where we live as well. But we're just visiting family and friends since we've been back. And
So neither one of you worked for the last 9 months?
my husband was lucky enough to secure a 9-month unpaid leave. So when he came back, he went to work. But the broadcast industry isn't as forgiving.
So he's working back in New Orleans?
No, he works mobily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he can work from anywhere. So, yeah. But as I mentioned, the broadcast industry isn't as forgiving, so I kind of had to let that go for a year. So
what caused this? I mean, did you have a nervous breakdown? Like, why did you...
Are you telling me you saw it on air? No. No, I didn't. It was
You inherit a lot of money? What happened?
Wouldn't that be nice to come into a lot of money? No, actually, it was a lifelong dream for both my husband and myself, and we just figured it's now or never. If we didn't do it now, we'd become very settled in our lives, and it would be much harder to up and leave. So we decided that it was the time. We sold the house, and actually, you know, you mentioned coming into a lot of money. If you're not paying mortgage, if you're not paying bills, you can do it.
Huh.
You can take off and travel the world for just about what you would do living in a city like New Orleans.
No kidding.
Yep.
Huh. Now, did you eat some amazing food when you're traveling? What was the best food?
I was going to ask that.
Absolutely
I was
amazing.
going to ask what the most disgusting thing you ate was, but your question is good
Well,
too.
let's do both. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I tweak it? How about there's probably lots of disgusting. Like I've eaten some disgusting meals where I didn't regret it afterwards because it was worth the story. Was there a disgusting meal you had that was so bad it wasn't even worth the story? You just wish you'd never done it. Like any place that put you in a hospital for a week?
No. Luckily, we stayed out of the hospitals. My husband was a little bit more adventurous than I was. We didn't really dig into any of the insects. He ate jellyfish, which I'm a texture person, and I cannot imagine chewing on jellyfish, but it's a delicacy.
Now, is it consistent? Is it consistent all the way through, or is it like Jell-O, or are there like fibers in it too? Like
I didn't dig into it. We actually had that in Malaysia, so I didn't try it because I didn't like the texture. I did eat stingray, which is surprisingly a very, very good fish, and I had that in Malaysia as well. What else bizarre?
I think stingray would be all cartilage. No, it's got like some meat.
Oh, it's very meaty and flaky. It's very good. We just grabbed it off of a street cart in Kuala Lumpur, so that was really, really good. Other interesting food actually came from Iceland. We had reindeer, and we had cured whale. I know, everybody
like
together. We ate a reindeer. It had a very gamey flavor. The whale, though, was very good.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Now, what was the texture whale like?
It was a cured whale, so it really, it would almost be as if, this is going to sound bizarre, but if you're eating an ahi tuna, I would kind of imagine the same thing. It was a little bit thicker, a little bit coarser, but it had the same texture. So I did feel bad eating that, though.
Worse about the whale or the reindeer?
Well, both. My husband ordered it, so I took a bite and let that be. And then
on the way out, did they just like club a seal for entertainment?
The rest of the time, I made him feel bad for ordering the reindeer.
Wow.
But that would be some of the bizarre food I ate. But
strangle any puppies while you were there too? Or?
No. You know what? They could have served me dog in some countries, and I may not have known. Unfortunately, of course, in Vietnam, I tried to stay away from that. But they do eat it. Molly's traveled extensively as well, and
met you guys.
Yeah, they met us
during
in
the
Croatia.
In Croatia,
excellent,
great country.
All right,
great food.
Seriously.
Not Molly Kimball approved.
Come on.
It was
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well,
what is
we
the-
did Vienna and then also Croatia, and there was a lot of schnitzel, a lot of sausages in lots of different forms.
Oh, I love the schnitzel. It's good stuff.
She was knocking that back. You know, I was like, is there carpaccio on the menu?
Yeah, Molly, of course, went for the lighter options on the menu, but she did. You know, it's much heavier food there in Croatia and a lot of Europe, but it was still
It
very
seemed
good.
like much more what I would think like Germany would have or something like more
Yes.
German heavy, like potatoesy.
Yes,
sausage.
Everything was fried. A lot of heavy meats and sausages.
So, Molly, how would you recommend to someone that's traveling or just an individual if they're going to be in another place and they don't have an option, a healthy option? Do you have a general rule of thumb that you would tell somebody, like, I don't know, portion control? Or
There are a lot of different things, and you know, I've heard different people call it, you know, different rules. You know, they'll have the 80-20 rule, like try to eat, you know, healthy or, you know, make good choices 80% of the time. The way that I kind of just say it is like negotiate, and so pick what's really worth it to you. So wherever you are, there's going to be something there that is delicious to you. Personally, I don't love schnitzel, so it wasn't like a big sacrifice to not have schnitzel, you know, in Austria. But if someone did, then there's other things that, okay, have other things that are less, you know, lower and, you know, don't have other fried foods, or making kind of trade-offs of what's really worth it to you. And so there's pretty much wherever you go, you can find some sort of lean protein. It might not be what's the house special, but it's going to be some sort of lean protein, some sort of vegetable. And if you can try to find some of those things that you like, but then intersperse that with the stuff that you do really love. So depending on what country you're in, I mean, they might be really known for their homemade pasta. If you're in Italy, like in Spain, they're going to have their cured meats, you know, their different hams and things like that. So kind of just picking and choosing what's worth it and negotiating those things in. And kind of like we said earlier, don't feel guilty about it. And try to, you know, make the wiser choices, especially on the stuff that it doesn't matter as much. Because there might be a lot of temptations out there, but most of it, how much do you really love it, or how worth it really is it? So you can kind of keep it on track a good bit of the time and then splurge on those things that you really love.
Okay. Now, does Eat Fit NOLA work with people personally, or is it all business based?
We do have a nutrition team of dietitians at Elmwood Fitness Center who do meet with clients one-on-one. So if someone says, I've got these issues, I have these food sensitivities, I can't have gluten or whatever it might be, we will definitely work with them. There's a lot of people who say, you know, I've got this thing that I'm doing nutritionally, my husband has something else, my kids have something else. You know, we do have that where we can work with people one-on-one or on a family kind of a basis. But when it comes to Eat Fit NOLA, we do have kind of our general parameters. So we don't have a gluten-free version, at least as of yet, of Eat Fit NOLA. So we don't have those certain things. It is more, here's the general, like if we're going to hit the masses, and if we look at what's the general stuff in restaurants happening now, and how can we really tweak it to where it's still going to be across the board a better option for people. But we do have our team that can do one-on-one.
Okay.
Molly, what's like in your estimation, is like a food myth, something that, you know, people just believe but you don't think is true in terms of healthiness?
Gosh,
don't
I feel
do
like
it, Molly.
I feel like
Oh,
there's
do
many-
it.
And exactly what is she doing right now? She's looking at me. She's looking at me.
Well, you know, like in restaurants, one of the things that I think a lot of people, their eye goes to, that, you know, people say, oh, I want to be, quote, be good, you know. So they look at the chicken or the fish or the salads.
Right.
Those things, as we've looked at this with Eat Fit NOLA, can sometimes have 2, 3, 4 times as much everything as maybe even the leaner beef or pork dishes. So I think I think one of the myths is that, you know, it's got to be chicken or fish if you're trying to be healthy. You know, you can do lean pork, you can do lean beef, and that can absolutely 100% fit into a decent diet. So I think that's one myth. When it comes to packaged foods, there's just, oh gosh, we don't even know where to start. You know, the multigrains, the reduced fat, you know, there's just so many things that can have messages on that front of the package that make it look as if it's better than it is. There's all types of nutrition bars or protein drinks that have more sugar than anything else. But in restaurants, I think people think it's got to be poultry or fish. But I also think here in New Orleans, people think, I can't even go out to eat without blowing it. So then they say, why even try it? If they're going to go out to eat, you know, just
I think that's
everything's
a
out the
great
window.
message to tell people that you are able in this city, and now even more with what you're doing, but that it is possible to have a healthy, great meal and
Oh, that's what
out.
I love. Like when people are trying to make the healthy choice, like it breaks my heart if I see someone like over at another table and they've got like their iceberg salad and their dried chicken. And they're at a really good place. And you're like, oh,
why be in New
gosh.
Orleans then?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. So like, for example, we were at Tableau earlier, like Jocelyn said, there's a truffle crab finger appetizer on their dish. That does not even sound relatively like nutritious, but it is. It's the truffle oil. It's their crab fingers. We have, seared crab cakes, we have fillets, we have like so many things that don't seem like they would be the wiser choice on a menu, and they're so much better than just my dry piece of chicken and iceberg, so
I think someone traveling in from out of town like I did today, I wanted seafood. A lot of people come to New Orleans and they want seafood, which generally can be healthy, but in New Orleans when you deep fry it, it loses any benefit it started with. But as Molly mentioned at Tableau today, I wanted seafood and I wanted something fabulous, and I came out with a fabulous salad that had jumbo lump crab meat and shrimp, all on tomato and asparagus, and it was the New Orleans flavor that I remember from a year ago. And that's the message that Eat Fit NOLA really can convey, is that this is New Orleans and you can keep those flavors while making it healthful.
Well, Molly, can you refute a theory I have, or else confirm it for me? I think that the food here is not necessarily less healthy than other places for the same kind of thing. Yet everybody gains weight when they move here, like Jocelyn just did. I mean, it's almost a sure thing when you first move here. But my theory about that is the reason why is because the food's so good, you eat out more, and the portion size is bigger here. Do you think that's generally true, or is there more to it than that? Am I oversimplifying?
I think especially the first part you said, the food here is so delicious, so who doesn't want to have it? Right. But I think also our social networks here are surrounded around food. Right. So portions aside, I mean, some of the restaurants, yes, definitely gigantic portions. Others not as much. I think it's also the frequency with which we dine out. Right. I mean, I think a lot of other cities, people cook at home a lot more. They're staying at home a lot more. They may go out to a restaurant once or twice a month, and that's a special event. Here, for us in New Orleans, a lot of us, it's just a normal night out. It's what we do.
Yes.
So whereas at home you've got a whole lot more control and you know exactly what's going into it, the restaurant's not as much. So I think it's delicious. We want to eat a lot of it, and that's what we do with our friends. That's our social outings.
So to summarize, you're basically agreeing, right? Per capita, it may not be worse. It's just we eat out more here, and that ends up having an impact.
I agree, because when you look at a lot of our chain restaurants, that are kind of our national chain restaurants, when we start looking at the nutrition information on those,
much worse.
I would say much worse. We are certainly not surpassing them if we look at it on an average, but I think it's the frequency that we go to them, and because of our social networks here, and also it's delicious.
Nobody's going to be going to Applebee's every night, and that's what most towns have, and they're not going to be. You're not going to be doing that, but you do that here. Yeah, I totally agree. This is the time for a special segment we like to call Off the Menu, and these are questions that normally would not be asked on an application for a cooking school. And
okay. I will start with Jocelyn.
Oh boy!
No, that is. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's not. You're all right. You won't cry.
Okay. And if I do, it's okay.
Some guests do.
Okay.
It helps ratings.
So, if you could do any other career, and anything you wanted to do, what would it be?
I would be a marine biologist. I cannot believe that just came out of my mouth.
Just like George Costanza.
I am petrified of the ocean, but I'm so intrigued by what's beneath its surface. But I'm afraid of it. But that's what I would do. I would be a marine biologist, and really, I have no idea where that came from. So is that like saying that you're afraid of heights,
but you want to be an acrobat? Or
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, or scale buildings for a living. But yes, I would be a marine biologist.
Okay.
Cool. All right,
wow.
Molly. How about for you? If you could have a meal with any one person, living or dead, who would it be? Besides Jocelyn, and present company here excluded.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. That's a hard one. I've actually thought about that. Oh, but every person I have coming in my head, it seems so trivial.
Oh, just throw it out there. Come on, Molly.
All right, let's do
Ellen.
We won't think
Ellen.
Of course,
Ellen.
She's an Ellen DeGeneres fanatic.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely, 100%, hands down, Ellen.
So if you were sitting with her, what would be your, if you could ask her one question, you're eating with her.
Okay, well, first of all, I would have to like get past the, But once I got past that, I would be, well, first of all, she's just hilarious. She's hilarious, and unlike a lot of people who are as funny as she is, she's not hilarious at the expense of other people's feelings. So that's one of the things I love about her. So I don't think I would have anything nutritionally based so much to ask her, but more about...
If you asked Ellen DeGeneres a nutritionally based question.
Well, she's vegan, she does care about nutrition.
Okay.
Oh, don't think we haven't thought about pitching Eat Fit NOLA to her. We would love to have her be the.
I wish you guys could
she
see.
grew up in New Orleans.
Yes, exactly. No, so she's vegan. She really does care about what she puts in her body. So the conversation would evolve to nutrition. But I think even bigger than that, I just really respect her just as like I respect her for her humor. She's intelligent, incredibly bright and funny and everything else, but also just like incredibly kind.
All right.
Wow.
Now I want to know about y'all's significant others, because you both seem very wonderful, strong, independent women, and I want to know, do your husbands like each other, or boyfriend? If you, no, it's your husband.
Well,
right?
this is one of the neat things. So I don't know how much time we have. I'll try to make this short. But I first met Jocelyn about 4 years ago as she came on as the anchor for the segment, as the anchor for Good Morning New Orleans. And I had a weekly segment and still have a weekly segment on there. And she's a new person coming in. And you know how it is. You kind of go, oh, well, this person seems really neat. I think I really like her. And a few, months go by or whatever, and we ended up at, actually, it was the French Quarter Fest. Yes. I think the first time our husbands met each other, and they immediately clicked and hit it off. And from there, it was just done,
Really?
So, yeah.
They
It's
really
nothing
did. But hijinks with those two. I mean, they
it's
are
true.
always cracking jokes. They are always getting into trouble. And they get along very well.
Yeah.
So we consider ourselves very blessed, because oftentimes it's hard with couples if you don't.
You find
mesh,
a person that you
right.
like that's really cool, but maybe the spouse, but yeah.
But no, the four of us mesh really well, so we're very, very lucky.
Oh.
And y'all, so you're from Baton Rouge, and where I heard you mention you're visiting friends and family. So are you from this area as well?
I am not from this area. I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado. So I seemingly just keep moving further south. I moved from Colorado. I went to school in Oklahoma, worked in Texas, then to Louisiana. So I think I'm trying to get away from the winter weather.
Okay,
Yeah.
so southeast. So you should hit Havana next. Maybe.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. Why not?
So you have no family here in New Orleans, or
Not
did you?
in New Orleans,
Okay.
no. But I consider the people in New Orleans now, like Molly, my family.
Nice. So do you have any? I want to hear one juicy story about on y'all when y'all were together traveling. Something slightly embarrassing that happened, or
We're looking back at Molly's
My husband is here. Yeah, Jocelyn's husband couldn't come in town, but Brad is back here, and we're like, Brad,
We're looking
help
at
us.
him. Actually, I don't think there's anything.
Did
Oh,
that really
okay.
happen?
Yes, Molly. So here's what happened. We went on a great tour of the beautiful city of Vienna, and we noticed that the next day there was going to be a festival. Well, I can't even get into it, but
Oh, come
we're
on.
from NOLA. We love our festivals, right? Okay, so we decide to go. All right. We show up at 2 p.m. and we stumble out possibly at about 2 a.m. or so.
Everyone there knew the Americans by the time we left.
Yep.
You were the.
There was dancing on stage. There were people wearing lederhosen. It was really a great time. And where do we stumble when we stumble out of the festival? Well, we stumble into a schnitzel stand, of course, as we mentioned. I enjoyed my schnitzel when I was there, my schnitzel. And so I can almost, because I can see Molly's husband back here, he's cracking up. So we're on the balcony of a very beautiful hotel in Vienna across from the Opera House. And I am enjoying the best schnitzel from a street stand I've ever had. I am just loving it. And I must just, little dirt on Molly Kimball here. She was enjoying one as well. So
Or at least picking part of yours.
yes, and she was, she's trying to pick the fried breading off of it and eat the chicken inside, but that didn't really work. And her husband thought that I had had enough because he knows that I love to eat and I would just keep on eating. He grabbed my schnitzel and he flung it across this very beautiful glass rooftop from the hotel where it stayed for the next 2 days while the birds picked at my schnitzel and french fries, and everybody in this very fancy hotel thought, what is going on?
And if anybody's walking under this very fancy glass area to the opera house and they look up, there's like schnitzels splattered for like 10 feet diameter.
I was so upset that he threw my schnitzel.
Now, that's pretty ballsy, too. I mean, I could see
Thank
your
you.
husband doing it, but you must really love each other, because if somebody took food out of my hand and threw it across a beautiful, it better be
Thank
my
you.
husband, or
I actually
Or
think,
somebody else you really love.
I
Yes.
actually think I've never really been upset at Brad before.
Till just now when you realize.
Until just now when I realized that he ruined that great moment in my life when I was sitting on the balcony overlooking the opera house eating a schnitzel, and he took that from me.
And as
Cruel.
there was the stains,
Cruel. That's
the
how you
grease
really feel
stains on
about
the
it.
balcony, we were trying to clean them up. No amount of soap could clean up the grease stains on the balcony.
No. Yeah.
There you go.
well, speaking of, it sounds like y'all were drinking. So, have you ever been inspired, Molly, to have a drink fit NOLA?
Oh, we
or-
do. We have several. It's New Orleans, so we do have several Eat Fit NOLA cocktails. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we have our criteria. If you have an appetizer, an entree, a side item, and then we also have our Eat Fit NOLA cocktail criteria as well. So we keep it low sugar.
Okay, so
not-
what is a healthy cocktail that carries a punch?
So we kind of
Like, for example, I just found I love gin and tonics. I just found out my gin and tonic has more calories and more carbs than like a heavy beer, like a dark beer.
So-
That devastated me.
You
'Cause
know,
I thought I was being healthy with all
in
my gin and
theory, we
tonics.
could have like a
Right.
glass of
Someone told
wine
me it was a
or
health elixir.
yeah, because tonic is like loaded with sugar.
Yeah,
You're
terrible.
right. So
It's not sweet at
if
all.
somebody did like gin and club soda or vodka club soda, I mean, technically that would be an Eat Fit NOLA
Right.
thing, but that's not what most restaurants want to do. They want to kind of have a specialty cocktail that they can say, we have our stamp of as far as flavor, and we think this is delicious,
Right.
and it meets the Eat Fit NOLA criteria. So we kind of cap the calories about what you would get for like a normal size pour of a glass of wine.
Right.
We keep it at about the equivalent of about 2 ounces of alcohol or less, and
Okay.
then less than a teaspoon worth of added sugar. So if they've got natural fruit purees through like a mojito or something, like that would work. So there's a lot of different ones. Like one restaurant has a ginger margarita. So each one has kind of their own. We've got about 4 or so different specialty cocktails now, and more restaurants are like, wait a second, let's add that to our list as well.
Well, you want a lot of flavor. You don't want it to just be watery,
Exactly.
or sort of diet drinky tasting, right?
Exactly.
I mean, some people use like diet tonic in the gin and
Yeah.
tonics. I just do not like that. It's awful.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess if you replace like spicy with sweet or something like that, it would be like
you know,
less
so
calories.
many
is that right,
places.
or-
We're working with the bar chef at Apolline or the bar chef at Cafe Adelaide at the Swizzle Stick Bar. Once they start adding kind of their own thing with a little bit of bitters or these little herbs, or
Right.
there's these other things that they're adding that I can't even begin to know like what they're doing to create these cocktails. But when they're happy with the flavor of it and they're happy, to serve it, and we look at the nutritional stats and we go, yeah, this totally works because it doesn't have the added sugars, and we're keeping our calories, like we said about that glass of wine, and so there's actually a lot. Like once you have a really creative bar chef, we've got it's. The options are endless.
Some of these bars that you mentioned, would they have the symbol then next to the drinks that
Yes.
are sort of approved for this?
Yes, and
Yeah.
like we said, it's really just
So I
been
can
in the
have like
past
5
month.
times as many of those, right?
That was actually the other conversation we had today. Someone said, we might need to put some sort of something, because if they go in there and they have 5 Eat Fit NOLA cocktails and go through their whole Eat Fit NOLA
Right.
menu,
This is healthy for me, yeah.
right. But if you're going to have 5 cocktails anyway, you may as well make it Eat Fit NOLA.
All right.
So
Nice, Molly, nice. It is New Orleans.
Yes, the one thing we did not talk about, though, specifically is desserts. Does every restaurant have you?
I would
work
say
with them on
most
that, or-
don't, and it is something that we can work with them on. That's a harder one because when you're limiting that added sugar and white carbs, so we say less than a teaspoon of added sugar, but we say no white carbs at all. So that's a hard thing because so many desserts have.
Tell us what white carb is. Not everyone knows that expression.
So it might be white flour, it might be enriched wheat flour, it might be white rice flour or rice, or so if you're looking at any kind of like ice cream based thing or brownie or cookie, a lot of those things are going to have white flour and or more sugars, and so that's probably the one area that it takes a lot of work to make something that has the texture, the taste that you want of a dessert, but without the added sugar. So that's probably the lowest category. We've got way more cocktails than we have desserts.
Okay. Now, just to add to that a little bit, so white rice is rice that's been stripped.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Exactly. So, we use brown rice flour. So some restaurants that might normally do white flour to dust their fish and then put it, pan sear it, if they switch to brown rice flour, that's a great way to, eliminate that white flour that we've got, but it doesn't add a gritty texture like maybe whole wheat flour would. We have one of our restaurants, our Vietnamese restaurant Magazine, instead of regular rice paper for their rolls, they use brown rice paper and brown rice vermicelli. So different ways that we can incorporate that brown rice as opposed to just your normal white rice. That's the default.
And this is more than a coloring, obviously. Like, people make fun of the
Right.
spinach wraps, whatever. It's just
Thank
the
you.
same as a regular flour tortilla with the green food coloring, but you're talking about actual brown rice is different than...
Exactly. So you don't have that refined ingredient in there. You just have that whole
It's one less
grain
step
ingredient.
instead of one extra step, actually.
Exactly,
Right,
yes.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time. But before we go, Jocelyn, if you have a travel log or something that you want to share with people,
Oh,
or
sure.
you could share a website.
Of course.
And,
Yes, I blogged across the world. Currently, to be honest, I'm only in India, so if you still want to follow along, you can do so. I've taken buku notes, and I'm still writing. It's just hard to get it all on paper, but that is revealingworld.com. And there we've got a ton of pictures, and I haven't gotten to Croatia yet, so if you're looking for all the crazy pictures of Molly, we'll get those up soon.
so there will or will not be a picture of the schnitzel.
I do have a photograph of that.
I
could possibly post it.
Okay, we're going to get that for our page for sure.
Oh, no.
Thanks.
And Molly, will you please share with us how everyone can find out more about Eat Fit NOLA and some of the shows that you're affiliated with?
Yes, so it's eatfitnola.com, and they can see our participating restaurants, and they can also see coming soon restaurants. And like you said earlier, it's free. We don't charge the restaurants anything. We have about 40 now, but what we ask is anybody who has their favorite restaurant that they go to all the time, if you don't see it on there and you want them to be part of Eat Fit NOLA, either reach out to us and say, hey, we want this restaurant to be on there, and we'll contact the restaurant, or let the restaurant know. And sometimes they want to reach out to us themselves, but we encourage them to help us spread the word, because again, totally free. As far as mine, I do have a website. It's mollykimball.com that has a link to our weekly segments on WGNO, the Get These Skinny segments, and also the Times-Picayune column.
Molly, can you spell Kimball for us?
Yes, KIMBALL.com.
mollykimball.com.
Yes.
Thank you. Our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One was Molly Kimball of Eat Fit NOLA, and her plus one was Jocelyn Lockwood, former GNO anchor, and now the author of Jocelyn Lockwood's RevealingWorld.com blog. You can find out about both of those by going to our website at itsneworleans.com. Good night. Midnight Menu Plus One is produced by Grant Morris, and Chris Keogh is our technical director. And this fabulous audio quality that you hear is by PreSonus Audio Electronics. Makes all kinds of wonderful things. Visit presonus.com for more information. You can get in touch with us here at Midnight Menu Plus One by going to our website, itsneworleans.com, and from there you can follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, sign up for our mailing list, get all kinds of swag. And while you're at itsneworleans.com, you can listen to other episodes of Midnight Menu Plus One and our other shows, Happy Hour, Mindset, True to the Game, Be It NOLA, Out to Lunch, and others. And if you listen to the show on iTunes, please rate us and review us. It helps other people to find us. Midnight Menu Plus One is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. So we meet here again. I am Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Thanks.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potting mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.